E3 2016 has been one of the best in years, in an odd way. EA was EA, Bethesda did pretty well. Microsoft did fine, but they didn't impress me. Ubisoft was alright, but Sony blew it out of the water for me. It's arguable that my favor for Sony lies as a bias against all others, but I naturally feel that Sony did that good. Kratos made a return, Ben Studio, the development team behind Bugsy 3D, Siphon Filter, Resistance Retribution, and Uncharted Golden Abyss announced their new IP, Days Gone. The Last Guardian got a release date. Detroit Become Human got a new trailer. We got to see a teaser for Kojima's new game. A great looking Spider-Man game is on its way, and most importantly to me, we have the first Crash Bandicoot release to look forward to for the first time in 8 years. I'm no stranger to Crash Bandicoot. My history dates back to when I was 3 years old, playing my first game ever, Crash Bandicoot Warped. Years led on, I became an avid fan, I stuck with the franchise through its high and low points, and grabbed every game I could. And one day, all that came to an end. After the release of Crash's last outing, a reboot and a kart racer was in the works set to revitalize the franchise, and as soon as we heard of them, we'd also found out that they were cancelled. Why does this matter? This matters because those cancellations we had saw had led to a franchise decline for nearly a decade, and now, after Crash's recent announcements, it seems like that's likely to come to an end. I was tickled about hearing Crash coming back. While I didn't make a reaction video like some, I can truthfully say in the end, I ripped off a part of my kitchen wall, kicked a bowl of cat food like a soccer ball, and ended up sitting in my sister's dinner. The announcement.
Yeah, that's right. No t-shirt tonight, but I'm proud to announce that we work with our partners at Activision, who are going to bring back the original Crash, Crash 2, and Crash Warped, fully remastered from the ground up for PlayStation 4.
What we can interpret from that is that all 3 games from the trilogy will be 100% fully remade from all aspects exclusively for the PlayStation 4.
Crash Bandicoot will also appear first, though, on PlayStation 4 this October in Skylanders Imaginators.
Vicarious Visions has stated that they've dug in archives and have studied Crash's personality to nail the look, and they truly have. Crash now 100% looks like how Charles Zambellis and Joe Pearson had envisioned him during the creation of the character. I believe if Naughty Dog then had the technology that we have today, this would be exactly what he would look like. What does this mean for Crash? This can mean multiple things, so just bear with me as I cover them. Crash is only guest starring in Skylanders. The trailer states that he's just guest starring. He's not being captured and becoming the face of the franchise just to market it. It's clear that Activision's decision to place him there had money in mind, but this is just a temporary stop for Crash. Vicarious Visions' involvement means something. You could argue that Vicarious Visions' purpose with remaking the Crash trilogy and involving him in Skylanders is because they're technically Crash veterans at this point. If Activision didn't really care, they'd pull Beanox, the company behind the recent movie-licensed Spider-Man games and last-gen Black Ops 3. I believe that's the truth, but I also believe there's much more purpose than just that. If you look at Vicarious Visions' most recent games they've developed, you'll notice that they tend to develop games in the same franchise in groups of each other, and then move on to the next once a franchise becomes burnt out or begins not to sell well. Those were the conditions presented with Guitar Hero, and they then moved on to Skylanders, and I now feel like the Skylanders games are being dealt the same hand. If you look at all the Skylanders games, their sales steadily rose, peaking to its highest point at Swap Force, and then decreasing rapidly in the following years. By no means is Skylanders becoming stagnant, and to prove that, you can see that the most recent outing, Skylanders Superchargers, has the highest ratings in the entire series. But Skylanders is becoming a tired concept. It is no longer as valuable to the consumer eye as it once was, and that's not just Skylanders, it's the whole Toys to Life idea. Avalanche Software was declared defunct after 21 years of business, and that's due to Disney Infinity's poor sales. I can only see Crash's appearance in Skylanders as a means of fan service, as an act of desperate marketing to boost sales, and Activision's way of introducing those who will buy Skylanders Imaginators to Crash just before the trilogy comes out. Crash may become one of Activision's cash cow IPs. With the degrading sales of Skylanders, Crash may just replace the series' position in Activision's catalog. Don't look at this as a bad thing. Up until Crash's hiatus, Crash had a game out every year. Certainly in the later years, quality was lacking, but then we have a great advantage now. Activision has the money to invest for a great Crash game. When I was talking to some ex-Radical Entertainment developers regarding Crash Landed, one thing struck me and changed my opinion regarding them and Crash Bandicoot. They were told to make a AAA Crash game. That's pretty foreign in terms of recent Crash Bandicoot titles, and it shows that they care enough to spend some good cash on reviving Crash. If you look at the Skylanders games, Vicarious Visions has the highest rated titles in the series, and they didn't even create Skylanders. Vicarious Visions is a talented developer that makes great games, and quite a few of the developers that worked on Nitro Kart and the Game Boy Advance titles are working on Skylanders to this day. How can the Crash series survive in its second life? If Activision does like they would with any of their other family-friendly IPs, they're only going to run Crash Bandicoot to the ground and he'll end worse than they did in 2008. I'm not going to state this as fact though, because Call of Duty has received annual sequels since its debut in 2002. As games, Call of Duty has one difference from Skylanders, Guitar Hero, and if you will consider it, Tony Hawk's Ride: accessories. Accessories are a great module for profit, but the fact that they go beyond the standard $60 price point, and that they are required to play those games that hold as much or even less content, it's understandable why consumers aren't annually purchasing these games. It's hard to support a series you love when it's needlessly robbing your wallet every year. And in games like Skylanders, extra content is locked off unless you purchase a specific character, which will cost about $15 to access a secret area. It's nonsense. These gimmicks create these franchises and they end them just as easily because they're so enforced. Crash Bandicoot as an intellectual property can survive and will sell well if it retails as a base game. Activision has the money and they have the ability to heavily advertise and make Crash Bandicoot an all-around known property. They just need to quit relying on gimmicks to sell their games.